Welcome to Rubin and Ivory's Journey in the Making.
In today's talk show, we're going to talk about finding like-minded people.
I'm Rubin.
And I'm Ivory. And today's word is mindset. Let's talk about mindset. Well, the reason we picked today's word as mindset, because when talking about finding like-minded people, it is about a mentality and the way of thinking, right? When you say that. And so a person's mindset really helps to determine their thoughts and their feelings with regards to anything. In this particular case, we want to talk about how you live your life in general. So with living your life in general, you want to be around like-minded people, right? Over the years, we've had to establish friends that, you know, have had similar mindsets. So whether that be being married, having kids, things of that nature. When you say, babe?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like you said, having that mindset and being around like-minded people as far as with business and with life.
With personal life, right? Having people you can relate to. And so, you know, immediate thought that comes to mind for me is that once you get married, you want to get some married friends, right? Because you don't want your husband or your wife hanging out with they still single friends. Not to say anything's wrong with that, but we know how sometimes that can go, right? Because sometimes things that single people do, married people don't necessarily do anymore or do as much. So you want to make sure that you have people that you can actually relate to, especially when you talk about looking for advice, seeking information, right? You know, you want to be able to say, hey, what did you do in this particular instance with your wife?
Right.
Versus, you know, what did you do with this girl that you've been dating for 2 months? It may not be the same, right?
It's not the same conversation.
It's definitely not the same conversation.
Gotcha.
And so, also with having children, you know, you want friends that have kids, right? So when your teenagers start going through their different ways, or if you got girls.
You said teenagers.
And I said teenagers.
Right, you want to skip over the stuff that, like, when they're young, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think
terrible twos.
When they grow, when they're young, and then if you can mold them where they're around kids that they can grow up with. Because remember that one time of when JD had that scare for a moment, and it was like, oh man, what kind of kids is JD gonna be
hang
around?
You
know?
Right?
Is he gonna be the outsider? You know, you worry about things like that,
right?
As a kid,
yeah.
I mean, as
a parent, raising kids.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And so to further elaborate what Rube was talking about. So we went through this period, I think he was in middle school, or was this elementary school?
This is elementary.
Okay, so in elementary school. So he had a group of friends, or a couple friends he had been hanging with for quite a while. And so something happened where he wasn't hanging with those friends as much as he used to. I mean, they would carpool and things like that. And so we're like, dang, like, is he gonna have any new friends?
Is he gonna have friends? Like, you know.
And so now the boy got tons of friends. My God.
Right. I mean, even before you get to the point now where he got tons of friends. I mean, him going through the process, he ended up finding a group of friends where he was able to make that bond, and that's important.
Right.
You know?
They became brothers.
Yeah.
And you know, as parents, you know, we had to talk to other parents like, dang, you know, like, what do? You know, and a lot of it is really just kind of being there as a support for your child, and making sure that, you know, you encourage them to meet new people, but at the same time, you don't want to force anything. You want things to naturally happen. And, you know, now, like Rubin said, we can look back and we can say, dang, you know, he has some friends that he met in elementary school that are like, they're like family. They're so close. They're like blood, you know. They're his brothers. And I know that he'll have those brothers for life. So, you know, as a parent, you know, we did worry and we sought advice, but we also understood that you had to be patient and allow the process.
And he just had to get basically around like-minded people that move like he moved.
Right.
Know? So, I mean, he was able to find a group of guys, and his one friend, Ryan, I mean, they basically got like the same birthday.
Sold, yeah, right. Their birthdays are a day apart.
They kind of look alike.
Well, 2 days apart. No, 2 days apart,
What was it, 28th?
Yeah, the 28th and the 30th.
Of December.
Right. So, and then when you look at them, I mean, you know, they're splitting image of each other, and it's just interesting how you can be so like someone. You know, like you said, it's just a matter of that mindset, though. And then, you know, also, even though, you know, we're encouraging people to be around like-minded people, still keep in mind that you want to have friends that you gravitate to, or in family as well, that are not necessarily the same as you. Because you have the same mindset for certain things doesn't mean that you have to be exactly alike, right? Because you always want to have different perspectives, different points of views, and so that takes having different types of friends or associates who can help with different points and different things, you know, as far as
in life,
cohesively allowing you to come together. Yeah, definitely in life and in business.
Yeah, because like I said, for me, for business, I was actually lucky because when I did actually go into business and, you know, getting into housing, like, you know, so I knew little about the housing industry, or, you know, not, you know, as far as fixing up a house, you know what I'm saying, even where to start at, you know what I mean, like, it was all new to me. So, like I said, I was actually blessed because I ended up going to the Home Depot, getting supplies or whatever, and I ended up running into one of my closest friends that I went to Votech with, Rodney Belcher. And basically, like I said, we linked up, and it was like, he was like surprised that I was even into the housing because, you know, when I was going to school in 2001 when we was in Votech, and I was in school, I actually, you know, had a kid young, so he didn't think I was gonna be into the housing. So for him to see me and see that I was still in the housing, he was like, wow, you in the housing? I'm like, bro, ain't nothing changed, it's my heart, you know what I'm saying? So, you know,
nothing gonna stop that.
Yeah, nothing gonna stop that. So we linked back up, and you know what I'm saying, we was able to help each other, you know, and he was already in the housing, and I was just like really getting my feet wet, you know, trying to understand what I needed to do. So we kind of, you know, worked together, you know, as we talked about while we was going through Votech, you know. I can remember us riding like, you know, 17, 16, like, oh, we gonna fix on this and we gonna build on that, you know, just talking young, but, you know what I'm saying, to actually do it when you get older, you know what I'm saying, actually build on things and fix on things, that was just a blessing, you know, so we actually did get to do that, you know.
Being years apart,
and
separated for some years and coming back together.
I'm glad you said that because this was like, when I ran back into him, this had to be early 2008, 2007. I hadn't seen them since 2002, like when we graduated. So, you know, it had been a couple years, you know what I mean? And like I said, when we linked back up, it was like we didn't miss a beat. We jumped right back on the same page, like, all right, so what you doing? What you doing? Okay. He's like, all right, well, you got to do it like this, or you got to do it like that. So while he doing that, we basically, we moving together to basically keep everything together.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, that was just crazy how that happened. Like, for you to run back into Ron, you know, Rodney, Mr. Rodney Belcher, who we know that's bro. Now, I mean, y'all have done so many projects together, and that's just amazing just to be apart from each other, you know, for that period of time, and to come back together as if there was no time lost, and just to get out here in full effect. And I mean, you know, bro had your back. I mean, he done been out here definitely, and y'all been putting some stuff together. I mean, just, it's one thing to have you and the way you think in your mindset, but when you bring Ryan on the scene, oh my God, it's just crazy. Like, what the heck? Like, y'all so extreme with the way y'all think about doing stuff. Let's knock this wall down and we're gonna build this up right here. It's like, bro, what? You
can't make this stuff up.
Right, exactly. Can't make it up at all. And so, I mean, I think that's just phenomenal when you find people who are like-minded and who are pushing for some of the same things that you're pushing for, and they see your vision. That just makes it that much more satisfying.
And then, like you said, like, I was actually blessed as well because, not only was I a young entrepreneur, and I ran back into my brother, Rodney Belcher, I also had other people who was black entrepreneurs, like my electrician. Like I met him while I was at work. You know, I met him, got the number, and basically he came over to look at some electrical work that I needed to be done. Just so happened that, you know, I just thought, you know, at that time, like, okay, he just got a van, a company van, or he working for somebody. Just so happened that when he came over, and, you know, by us being like-minded people, and him actually taking heed to what I was doing, he was like, man, he was like, you into the house? And he was like, oh, you gonna do this, do that? I'm like, yeah. He like, oh yeah, my nephew was gonna do the same thing. And, you know, from there, we started talking, and, you know what I'm saying, and we just clicked, you know what I'm saying, and that was my first electrician that kind of like clicked with me, and I just kind of stuck with him, and, you know, and grew with him, you know, and that's big.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And it's really huge because, you know, you find people in the place that they're at, and to watch people grow. So, you know, it's one thing to watch yourself grow, but it's another thing to watch the people that work alongside with you grow as well. This same electrician, we can't get him to do a job today because we small time.
Right.
This man out here doing big contracts, big
right.
projects.
Shout out
now,
to
right?
Buzz Electric.
So, you know, you see that, and
Right.
I mean, you know, talking about the electrician then makes me think about your furnace guy.
Yeah, the nerd.
You know, you got nerd, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, we could have him come put in a furnace, and, you know, he would look out and get us together.
Yeah.
And now it's just like his business has grown substantially. And again, these are black owners that we're talking about, who got businesses, who are thriving. And it's just amazing. It's just such a blessing that even though they may not be at our level at this time, being able to still do work with us, it still gives us inspiration to see how they're growing. And it's like, oh, we gonna grow too. We gonna be big time like them too.
Right, keep pushing, keep pushing.
It give you something to push towards.
Right.
But at the same time, even though we may not necessarily be able to get them on site at a job, you can get them on the phone.
Oh yeah.
They'll talk you through some stuff, give you some advice.
They give me information all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, I
Which
can
is
call.
powerful.
I can pick up the phone, call them right now. Like, hey, I got this going on, that's going on. Well, what you need to do, Rubin, is, you know, they'll give me the layout of how I need to do it. And that's big because, like I said, if you don't know nothing about housing and how things work, and, you know what I'm saying, if you don't find like-minded people for your own business, or for things that you're doing basically to help push you through or guide you or give you some sense of direction on where you're going, and then it's like, dang, you're going to be lost, or you're going to end up paying a lot of money out, you know what I'm saying, on something that wasn't even intended for you to pay a whole lot of money out on, you know what I mean? So it's always good to be able to get around people who can push you or who can show you something. And I think for us right now, at the point we at right now in life, you know what I'm saying, this is a part of us reaching out, you know what I'm saying, trying to, you know, build the community to
people that we know that are within our reach, and even people that don't know us, but, you know, support and are inspired by what we're doing right now.
Networking. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's all. Network.
Yeah, building that network of people, of followers, of people who want to, you know, do business or have a better life. So, you know, while we're on the topic of business, just kind of talking about from my standpoint, as far as, like you said, finding like-minded people. So I have photography sisters and brothers, and even photography groups that I follow, definitely like on social media. So, you know, we definitely have Sherelle, like I talked about, who introduced me kind of into the photography social media industry, and told me about a lot of different groups. You got black photography groups, you have local Michigan photography groups, you got Detroit photography groups. You know, we even have like the Rock That, there's the Rock That conference that they have that started as Exposure 101.
Rock That Nation.
Right, yeah. That are it's just an industry of photographers, right? So that means that I'm in the midst of a lot of like-minded people. That's crazy that you said that, because
it's like, even when you got into photography, it was like you would never think that photography was as big as it is.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? and to find people who was in groups and
locally, right in your city, right in your state.
Wow. And then just for them to go as crazy, you know, on the business side of it, you know what I'm saying, was just like phenomenal. You know, people got their own studios.
And you know, it's interesting what Rubin is saying. So basically, you know, with first of all, with pricing for anything, it can be difficult, right? So I have a business. How do I price out my business? And you know, it can be a challenge because it's like, man, how do I get information? So you have to learn where you can find that information at for your local market. And you know, sometimes you might be able to ask a simple question as to, hey, what do you charge? Or you might have to go online and do some research, looking up some different websites of local people that are doing the same thing that you do. And so with that, because you want to make sure that you are not underpricing yourself or overpricing yourself. You want to try to put yourself kind of right in the middle if possible, while staying competitive at the same time. But the very interesting thing that I saw and learned in business, especially with photography, is there is so many things that you can do with photography. And with that being said, you know, don't come to me just because I'm a photographer. Come to me for what I specialize in. And so within the photography groups, you'll see that there's sports photographers, there's food photographers, there's drone photography, there's photographers that photograph models and they may work for magazines and things like that. So there's so many different ones, beverages. So there's a variety of different types of photographers that are out there.
Never would have knew. Never would have.
Yeah, so you know, when you see it broken down the way that it can break down, it's very intriguing and very interesting to know how extensive and how deep photography can go.
The research.
But you gotta do your research.
It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like I said, I mean, how you jumped off into photography and you know, being able to, like I said, get around Sherelle and she show you this one thing. Then you take that other one thing, you turn it into something else. Like, okay, well, what else is there?
I got my foot in the door. I got my foot in the door, and I got to travel.
That's how you network, though.
Bit.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's big. You know, and that's the same thing for my business. You know, like talking to people. If you get one good electrician out, you know what I'm saying? Being able to say, pick his brain and be like, man, who else you know? You know what I mean? That's how you find like-minded people. Who else you know that can do this or do that? You know what I mean? Putting yourself out there, taking chances. I always take chances. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that. I want to make sure you touched on that.
I take chances. I put myself out there. You know what I mean?
What does that mean when you say you take chances?
I take chances as far as with people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And when I say I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, if you say you can bring me a skill, okay, bring it to me. I'm gonna give you that chance. I'm gonna give you that chance to show me. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And at that chance, when I give it to you, you're going to have to prove to me that you about what you said you about. You know what I mean? And if you is, I'm going to know. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to feel it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be motivated to be like, okay, I'm going to call you again. You know what I mean? And that's how I go. You know what I'm saying? You got to give people a chance. You know, don't turn your head. Don't be, you know, so scared to say, nah, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you want to throw that benefit of the doubt out. You know what I'm saying? To see what happens.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You never know. I mean, because that's a lot of what I did, just jumping out there like, hey, you know, just talking to people, you know what I'm saying? Putting myself out there to be like, I need help, you know what I mean? And I'm going to get help by any means necessary, you know? Because I'm going to move to that next level, you know what I'm saying? And the thing about it, by any means necessary, you know what I'm saying? So when I start talking about moving to that next level, whoever I need to move with, I will, as long as they want to move with me. It's gotta be, it's gotta be, you know,
a willing thing.
Yeah, like, you know.
You ready? You coming with me?
I mean, you gotta bring me the same energy I'm bringing you. You know what I'm saying?
And I think with that being said, an interesting point that comes to mind is that when people have things that they're offering and they're new, doing something, you know, so we have to get better as a people in supporting people, right? Giving them that chance, like Rubin said. You know, somebody might want to sell you a sub that costs $15, and you might be like, oh, that's a lot of money, that's overpriced. Give that person the benefit of the doubt. spend that $15 with that business to see what it's like,
Especially if it's
and
black
give
owned.
that feedback, especially if it's black owned. Give that positive, that feedback, that constructive feedback. But the thing is, though, those of you who are out there that's receiving that feedback, it's all in perception. Don't be mad because somebody gave you their honest opinion about something. Take heed to it, because that has gotten us to where we are today, right, babe?
What you mean?
We've had so many people come to us and tell us their feedback, whether they like something or not. Regarding this talk show right here, one of our church members was like, well, what is it about? Okay, well, make sure you do X, Y, and Z. And it was just like, okay, you're right. Tell me more. It shouldn't be like, well, you ain't had a talk show, so you don't know how to tell me to set up no talk show. No, I'm listening to everything that they have to say, because at the end of the day, you take away what you feel that you can use, and things that you feel like you can't use, you either leave them there or you shelf them for a later time.
I'm glad you said that, because people, they tend to do that too as well. Like our younger generation, or just people in general. It don't have to be young, old. It don't matter. Like, you can get advice from anybody. Anybody can give you advice. You know what I'm saying? It's what you do with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, to make you better.
Right.
Like, people don't listen to other people enough to be able to move forward in what they're talking about. People will be like, oh, they'll tell you something, and then it's just be like, you just let it fall by the wayside because, oh, that's John. John don't got a new car, so how he know how to get a new car? But you don't know if John did his research. John might have did his research and found out ways, or he might know somebody who been through it. You know what I'm saying? So you can't knock that man because he giving you information. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to take that information and use it for what it's for. You know what I'm saying? And it just go from there.
Right. Most definitely. Most definitely. And I think also, just in general, we're talking about mindset. The very most important thing you can do, whether it be your personal life, whether it be your business life, whether it be with your family or you as an individual, find a mentor. Mentors are not just for business. Mentors can be life coaches. Mentors can be counselors. Mentors can be a variety of things. It could be a big sister, a big brother, just someone that you can look up to and can relate to and get information from. Because, we have like a list of mentors, but when you think about a couple that come to mind, for example, for me, and we'll just start off from the personal side of things, I had my mom, who was very instrumental and influential, who supported me and was always there giving me some type of advice, whether asked or not asked. And then, I had a very close aunt and uncle who took me right up under their wing, and they showed me the world. Like, they got me out of my bubble of where, I was, and we explored different cities, and I learned a lot of my geographical directions from them. And then you have another uncle of mine who kept us heavily involved in church. So we were in church with my mom at our local church, but then I also had an uncle who would pick my brother and I up. He would take us to church. We sometimes would go out to eat, and we enjoyed things like that. And things like that were so impactful and powerful in my life. That's on the personal side of things, just name a couple of things. And we know that times have changed, but back then when they said it takes a village, it truly was a village on the block of Tuller Street in Detroit. I had multiple neighbors whose house I would spend the night at. I would hang out with, some childhood friends who are now still really, really good friends of mine. And, it's just like you never forget those childhood memories and how impactful and important and influential those were, And definitely, my sister Monique, I lived with her. I stayed at her house. And Miss McLeod showed me some things, just about life and how to live, and how to keep your house together and things like that, keeping your house in order. Stuff like that was so instrumental, so influential. And so just thank you to all of those people who had that influence in my life. What about you, babe? Some of those people who were instrumental in your personal upbringing.
Yeah, like I said, definitely my uncle, You know, my Uncle Jerry, I mean, he had 2 mechanic shops at the age of 10. And that was big for me, you know, because I was able to see that, like, oh, yeah, we can. So in my mind, I'm already thinking, entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Yeah. My Uncle Jay, you know, he actually went to the Army, the Navy, I'm sorry, and came back from there, and basically he was showing me consistency with as far as working out, you know, building muscle, working with your hands. He liked doing car models where he fixed them with his hands, things like that that you need to see that build character. And who else? I had my Uncle Milton. He actually took me on the ice cream truck at the age of 8, and I actually got to go up a couple blocks and pass out some candy.
For a kid, that's exciting, right?
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, so it's little stuff like that make character, you know.
And your grandparents,
yeah,
I know you talk about a lot.
Oh yeah, my grandparents, my granddad, you know, they played a big role in my life because I stayed with them, you know, as me coming up as a young guy, and you know, just being able to lean on my grandma and talk to my mama and have both of those mothers basically play a role in my life like that, you know. Seeing all the different males in my life, I had my dad in my life. I had that foundation where it was husband and wife, you know. So it was a blessing. And I just thank God, you know, for that. And, you know.
Definitely. And then, you know, just chiming in, talking about from the business aspect of things. So, you know, cousin Zach, shout out to cousin Zach, who allowed me to be under his wing. He definitely showed me a lot of the ropes with photography. Like I said, my whole photography industry that's out there, where we had conferences and different events that were going on, where I learned a lot of stuff business-wise with relations to photography. And then I have my mentor, Mr. Rogers Foster. You know, the man been doing photography longer than I've been alive, which is amazing. He was just very influential. So, you know, with Mr. Rogers, one of the amazing things I can say is, you know, he is the man. You know, we go to different events, and, you know, he's one of those people that somebody always recognizes. And it's because he done been around the block, you know, and he knows what he's doing.
He done put his work in.
He done put that time in, and he done put that work in. Very consistent. You know. And has done a variety of different types of photography. And then one of the most beautiful things about Mr. Rogers, and I guess this is a very important point, well, how did I meet Mr. Rogers? I met him at a photography conference, right? So you go out and you meet people at these events. You cannot be afraid to talk to them. Yeah. When I stepped into that conference, I knew that I needed to try and build up a roster of associates and people that I could connect with and work with and learn from, right? Because education is so important for me, especially in my craft. And so he took me under his wing, and from there he already had an established family of other photographers that he had also served as a mentor for. And so Andrea, that's another photographer, that's one of his photographer daughters, just as I'm one of his photographer daughters. She's, you know, very big on the business side of photography and has taught me so many things, and has also believed in me and allowed me to do work with her. So that's been so important. And then I have photographers that I've met through different conferences.
Wait, hold up, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. What'd I forget?
You forgot Mary.
Mary, you know Mary.
She was there with Mr. Rogers.
She was there with Mr. Rogers, my photography sister
I had
Mary.
To say, I'm sorry. You know,
that's his girl.
That's my girl.
Okay,
sure.
And then I guess I have to be, you know, one of them vulnerable moments, right? Because that's what this show is about, right? It's about opening up into our private lives and, you know, sharing information. So Mary Morgan is a fellow photographer, and she was there at the conference with Mr. Rogers. And so you know, I got to talk with her, but I more so was focusing on talking to Mr. Rogers, right? Because, you know, he's the timer that's been around for a while, and, you know, I was trying to get connected with him because she was introduced as one of his mentees as well. And so, you know, as time went on, I was doing more work with Mr. Rogers. I'm talking to Rubin, and I'm like, man, I need help with something. And so he was like, call Mary. And I'm like, Nah, like, I don't know. You know, us as women, sometimes you can feel a certain kind of way about asking another woman something or coming to another woman. You know, you don't, it's that fear of, is she approachable? What kind of person is she? Is she funny acting? And so Rubin was like, man, she's cool. Just call her. And so what I do, I call her. And, you know, as I'm talking to her, I'm like, well, baby, she was cool about it. You know, she seemed cool. He's like, see, I told you.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, but, you know, she still got to show up. Let me see what's going to happen when she show up.
Right.
And so this is when I was more so at the beginning of my sports photography, asked her to come down to a shoot. So I asked her, and she actually comes. She jumps into mode, y'all, just helping, like, oh, make sure this is right, make sure this is together. And she pure-heartedly did that, and she didn't expect anything. She just was happy to be a part of something I was doing and lend a hand
Like-minded
and share
people.
her
Like-minded
time.
people. You
And
know
so
what I mean?
now we tease each other, and it's just like we can call each other pretty much for anything.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful thing to, you know, to have that. So, you know,
Bringing that energy.
you know,
what I
being
mean?
around people with different energy and putting your energy together, and just sometimes it just makes
It explodes. Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
So, but yes, you're right. And so, definitely Mary. And then going off to, like I said, my other photographers that I've met at different conferences. And even though, you know, I may not have a one-on-one personal relationship with them, I follow them on social media. I go to their classes when we have the different conferences. But Jen Lewis, she does high school seniors, and she also does, I believe, some corporate stuff. And then you have Jessica Robertson, who works with high school seniors. So I follow them, and I really like their style. And I learned about their style through following them and checking out some of their education, which is very important. So definitely very important to find like-minded people with business as well. And then for you, for business, you'd have face-to-face.
Yeah, face-to-face. Mr. Pete, like I said, he introduced me to Leonard, my heating and cooling guy.
Yeah.
And Mr. Pete, he did plumbing as well. So he came in. I remember not having much money. He was like, don't worry about it. Pay me later.
Man,
You know?
old school.
Yeah, pay me later.
Old
I'm
school.
like, huh? But you done did a job, sir. I owe you for your job that you did. Rubin, don't worry about it. He like, you going somewhere? I don't plan on going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's like-minded people, you know, finding people that can, you know what I'm saying, go down, you know, take it down to earth. And even though they might be a little bit higher than you, but they still come back down to earth and say, I'd have been there before, young man.
Right.
I can help you.
Yeah, passing
Don't worry
off
about
those,
it. You know what I'm
passing off
saying?
those blessings.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that was big because it was like, I'm scraping to get every little thing. Like, everything I'm spending count. You know what I'm saying? I'm spending this to get this tool or to get this part. It count. You know, it's hitting my pockets, you know, starting off. So, I mean, that was just a blessing, you know. That was just a blessing.
Definitely. And God rest his soul, Mr. Pete has gone on home. So, but definitely never forget how instrumental he was in our lives. And then, you know, you purchased a whole apartment building, honey. Who'd you get that from?
Mr. Smalls.
Mr. Smalls.
Yeah.
Mr. Smalls gave you that big opportunity, right?
Yeah, 13-unit apartment building, age 26.
Man.
And he gave me that chance. I mean, when I first seen the apartment building, it was like, okay, that's my dream, but that's not nothing I can do right now. But what ended up happening, I called the number just to see what's gonna happen, because that's me, like curious George. I call a number and what do you know, Mr. Smalls? And he just felt my energy. He like, young man, what church do you go to? I say, well, sir, I go to Rehoboth Baptist Church. He say, well, what's your family set up like? Are you married, single? I say, sir, I'm married with 2 kids. He say, you know what? He was like, I like you. I was like, okay. He was like, why don't you make me an offer? I say, make you an offer? I don't even know how much you want, sir. So, I mean, you know, that was big for me because it's like, I threw the number out there and he kind of was just like, okay, let's sit down, let's make this happen. And it was like, what? Like, so it blew my mind because, you know what I'm saying, like I said, you put yourself out there and you don't know what's going to happen. but you take that chance. You know what I'm saying? And you walk out there on faith.
Right.
You know?
Definitely stepped out on faith.
And you never know what happens. So at the age of 26, I was able to own my first apartment building because of the simple fact I ran into somebody who actually took the time to say, hey, that's a young black guy. I was a young black entrepreneur. I know where you at, and I like your lineup. I like your consistency, and I like your foundation, and I'm going to give you this chance. I said, thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that really just came to mind is that Mr. Smalls had values that, you know, was important. Like you said, he asked you, do you go to church?
Yep.
If you go to church, that already kind of speaks to your character. And so outside of you going to church, now what's the next thing? Are you married? Are you single? What type of person are you? And that kind of lets him know, you know, the mindset that you might kind of have. He's a family man, right?
Right.
And you're a family man. So he was willing to take that chance with you because of the fact that Rubin was a family man.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
Every time, you know, he asked you, did you go to church today? You know, we would meet with him.
Did you pray for me?
Did you pray for me? You know, I mean, and he truly, truly cared, and he looked for those answers. And, you know, he's a very wise guy. And you talking about Mr. Smalls is in his 80s, right?
Yeah, like 80.
I mean, and you talking about somebody who's been in the housing industry for years, and he knows the game, and he's had
in and out.
And he's had residential, commercial property, so he's a wealth of knowledge, and like just having access to that, even if you can just talk to someone over the phone that has that kind of knowledge and experience, how much that can help you in your business. You know, I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Again, you got to be able to put yourself out there and take them chances.
Definitely.
And ask for help, and then, you know, listen.
Yeah.
You know.
Because, I mean, if the tables was turned, and, you know, I'm like looking at this 13 unit, I'm like, there's no way they're going to give us that. I'm not even going to call. But this man called, y'all. He picked that phone up and didn't care because he knew what he wanted. He was ambitious. If he was going to get turned down, he was going to proudly get turned down.
I would have knew what it went for. You know what I'm saying? I would have had an idea in my mind for the future.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What, something to work towards,
Something
right?
to work towards.
Because it's not always bad, you know,
know,
when you get rejected. So that's a part of life.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, you know, and last but not least, talking about values, us and our church family, right? We've had multiple conversations with our pastor, Pastor Cecil W. Banks.
Yes.
Shout out to him.
Yes.
One of the humblest, sweetest guys that we know. You know, he's a retired school counselor, and, you know, he is full of knowledge. And he's very inspiring because of the fact that he encourages us, right? You know, he'll talk to us one-on-one, and he'll just say, like, man, you all are doing an awesome job. To hear things like that is just so inspiring, you know. Even when people know that they're doing a good job, it still feels great to hear it from other people. It's good to be reminded that you're doing a good job, you're doing great work, and it also reminds you that people are watching, people are looking at what you are doing. And so, you know, with our church family, they've always been so supportive, and even though we're a small church, we're a powerful church, right? And that's just such a beautiful thing, just to know that a lot of us have been around each other for so many years. You talk about 20 plus years.
Yeah. And then for them to actually see us start off, you know, so young and not have anything, and to build something.
To build, right.
I mean, it's powerful, and it's a blessing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, you know, God is very important. Having that church family is so important. So, you know, keep that in mind, definitely. Making sure that you have your values in line, and
mindset.
And making sure that you find people that are like-minded and who are going to provide encouragement, inspiration, who are going to support you, and who are going to believe in you no matter what it is. It could be school, it could be work, just with any and everything. don't be afraid to talk to each other. We got to get back to that point where we share those nuggets and share that knowledge and information with one another.
Move the pieces on the board, or move the pieces on the table.
Right.
You know,
and do it together, right?
Yeah, do it together.
Because at the end of the day, as I've said before, you know, there's power in numbers as far as success, right? Success isn't just measured by individual success. It's measured by the amount of people that are successful around you. And as my cousin Alexis said, that is one that came from Miss Beyonce, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but that is a very true statement, because at the end of the day, we got to believe in one another and we got to support one another so that we all can push forward, definitely. So again, we talked about being around like-minded people, how to find those like-minded people is very important in any and everything that you do, guys. So please remember that, keep that in mind. And as always, we thank you so much for watching.
Sure.
Please be sure to like and subscribe.
Share, please.
Share this video. Share from our page. You want to check us out. We are on Facebook and also on Instagram. That's Talk Show Rubin and Ivory's Journey in the Making. All right. Until next time, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it.